Welcome back to another edition of Let's Talk with Big Chief and yours truly, Stero. Um, want to say warm welcome to everybody that has been following the channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned as we bring you new content each and every time. So today we're going to get into the Pdiddy verdict and what he was basically charged with. He was
Yes.
acquitted of racketeering and conspiracy, and was and sex trafficking also, but was convicted on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution and a lesser charge related to violating the Mann Act.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really long and drawn out, but the detailed information that was released, did expose that he has some, sexual proclivities that some might say are deviant, others might say are just, regular. But he was not convicted of uh, the RICO,
Yeah.
and he was, you know, acquitted basically because the prosecution could not provide substantial enough evidence to substantiate that it was worthy of a RICO charge. So, what say you, Chief?
Yeah. Stero, it appears that you have some type of talking in the background. I'm not sure what that is. Like if it's an echo or something.
Oh,
Uh,
hold on 1 second.
okay.
Excuse me.
Our audience is give Stero a minute so he come back. All right. Okay. All right. So he's coming back to his streaming.
All
You
right, you
back,
good
sir?
now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Much better. Excellent.
All right,
All right.
cool.
Thank you so much. All right. So the recent trial involving Sean P. Combs resulted, in a mixed verdict, where he was acquitted of some charges but convicted of others. Now, the reason why the federal prosecutors didn't secure a full conviction on all the charges, particularly the more serious ones like racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. Like for instance, that they failed to prove a criminal enterprise. The prosecutor aimed to prove Combs was a leader of a criminal enterprise involving sex trafficking and racketeering. However, now in terms of the defense, they successfully argued that while Combs may have engaged in harmful or violent behavior, his actions didn't necessarily amount to organized crime or criminal enterprises. All right. What do you
Also,
think?
the prosecution failed to demonstrate coercion in the sex trafficking charge. So basically, everybody who participated was a willing participant, and
Correct.
the defense was able to tergiversate that with their argument. So I
Yeah.
mean, at the end of the day, Diddy is looking at some time, but
Hmm.
not the amount of time that they were looking to give him initially.
Yeah. So in other words, it challenges and demonstrate. It has to challenge and demonstrate coercion, right? So in the sex trafficking charges, the prosecution needed to convince the jury that individuals involved were coerced into sexual encounters. Combs' defense countered this by presenting evidence that the women were in long-term relationship according to their testimony with him, and had some level of willing participation, making it harder for them to prove coercion beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, in terms of the defense tactics, his team, P. Diddy team, focused on discrediting the prosecution's case and emphasizing that Combs' action, though potentially immoral or harmful, did not meet the legal threshold for the most serious charges. They also highlighted the financial motives of some of the witnesses, suggesting they were seeking monetary gain from Combs, because they asked one of his old girlfriend, like, why she kept on engaging in these sexual freak offs, and she said she wanted to please him, and on top of it, he was paying her rent for like $10,000 a month. So in other words, she was benefiting from it over the period of years that she was with him. She would make arrangements and meet with the prostitutes, male prostitutes or what have you, and set up arrangement with P. Diddy, and only because she wanted him to pay her, continue to pay her rent, or put a roof over her head.
There was definitely elements of the bag chase, for lack of a better term, in this trial, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
But needless to say, whether or not he walks free or does a scintillate amount of time, his image and reputation will be forever tarnished by this particular case
yeah,
and the allegations. And you know what was brought to the public, some of the details. I know people are kind of shocked. Some people were
mhm,
just like, "Hey, it is what it is," but you know, that's
yeah,
a stench or a stink that won't be
yeah,
able to get rid of easily. You know, you
yeah,
can come and apologize or clean up your image, or you know, do good works. You know, whatever you feel is necessary to reappear squeaky clean to the public. But
yeah,
the damage is done. You know,
yeah. Now,
and
now, in terms of the nature of the RICO charges, now racketeering charges, they're very complex, right, and difficult to prove on the part of the prosecutor. All right. Now, in terms of them trying to prove it, they have to. It's required demonstrating an ongoing criminal structure, which they didn't, right? And a
right?
continuation of members in a criminal organization, which they didn't prove it, because it's not like the mafia or whatever, or the Mexican cartel, where there's a structure and command and control, right? Um, in the mob, you have like the boss, the underboss, the captains, the capos, the soldiers, and that structure didn't have that structure when it came to P. Diddy, and it was a far stretch for them. They were
In,
pulling at straws, per
in your
se.
in your in your professional opinion, Chief, from what you've observed so far, do you think going in the prosecution had a strong case and argument?
No, 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 no. And maybe if they had went in with the lighter charges as opposed to RICO racketeering, they would have and just left that out. They would have fared much better.
Hmm.
But once they charge them with racketeering and RICO charges, that's mostly set for like transnational criminals and mobsters and so forth. Right? Never
Okay,
with regards to individual with the sexual um, perversion per se, right? With adults. Now, with him harming ladies now, beating them up or whatever, you know, that's a no-no. But is it a criminal enterprise because he did that? Um, they haven't proved it. No.
interesting. I think the court of public opinion probably judged this case before it was even over,
Yeah.
and that doesn't necessarily mean that you know Mr. Combs was guilty. of said charges just because the public feels like or has an aversion to what they may have heard, or
Mm-hmm.
because everybody formulated their opinions about what was going on during the trial. And surprisingly enough, the trial didn't last as long as I thought it would. I think it would have been this long, dragged out
How long it was? Like what?
scenario.
3 weeks? 4 weeks?
Yeah, maybe a month.
Well, a month? Okay.
And they had lots of testimony from several witnesses, individuals who were participants in the freak offs,
Yeah.
male escorts, ex
Mm-hmm.
girlfriends. I found it very interesting that a lot of Diddy's friends and
Or
supporters were not in the
it,
court.
it was like mum's the word. Everybody was silent.
You know,
Like all the individuals that you're seeing, like on videos with P Diddy, tell me, "Oh man, you haven't been to a party until you've been to a P Diddy party." Everyone was silent. No one is saying anything. No one went to go see him while he's locked up in Manhattan, and it would have been like a nightmare scenario in terms of public relations for anyone to be seen near him
everybody
prior
was
to
trying
his,
to protect their image, I guess.
yeah,
Nobody
protect their
wanted to be
image,
associated with
protect
them.
their interests, and all that stuff combined. Because it's kind of hard. It's not kind of. It is very hard to rehabilitate yourself once you're paired with individual like that.
How do you think
Um,
this will? How do you think going forward this will affect the Sean Combs brand? As far as endorsements, liquor, clothing, music.
it's going to take a lot to rehabilitate his image. Um, Now they're saying that the he maybe facing like 10 years in prison for one of the charge and maybe 5 years for the other charge. So it's going to take a lot of reflection of him if he gets sentenced. He had a hearing today, and I think they held it over until like the 8th of August or something like that for his sentence. So we will see whether or not the judge throw the book at him. It's also important to note that even though Combs was acquitted on the most serious charges, the trial significantly impacted his public image, right, and his career. He
Most
still
definitely.
faces numerous lawsuits. There's a lot of lawsuits out there against him. Now, what um, I've heard and I've seen where a lot of like several of gentlemen that said that P Diddy forced himself onto them and all that stuff. I was surprised that allegedly, I should say allegedly, I'm surprised that they were never called up by the prosecutors. I don't know if um, they didn't want to go that route per se, but absence of those guys, couple producers said that he forced himself. He forced himself on them, and for several years, and we didn't see these guys call up on the bench, right, to
You
speak.
know, I mean, there was so much at stake for a lot of people. I
Yeah.
feel that a lot of them wanted to protect their privacy, their own integrity,
Yes.
and their own standing within the you know public eye. Because many of these individuals are affluent people, persons in the music industry,
Yeah.
entertainment, you know,
Hmm. Yeah.
and to be associated with this, to have your name called up in this, and to even be remotely associated with it. I know me personally, as an individual, I wouldn't want no parts of it, and would do whatever I had to do to keep my name and face out of it.
Yes.
Pay
That's
however
true.
much money, and do whatever it takes to do not associate me with that guy.
Like Cat Williams said, sometimes you got to say no to P Diddy.
Hey, man. And you know,
Oh,
but you know what? As the story unfolds, make sure you stay tuned and keep it locked indefinitely to Chief and Stero, because we will definitely bringing you the update, or be bringing you the updates on how the ending transpires. So
yeah.
make sure you like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. Continue your support. We love you guys. You guys are the real MVPs. And on behalf of Big Chief and Stero Lion,
Peace.
peace.
Love you guys.
Respect.